Hello, my name is DJ Stews. Welcome back to the Who Pod. This month I am joined by Will, aka Cyber Will.
Back again, the one and only.
And today we're going to be talking Pardon?
I just said back again, the one and only, and that's really, really cringe.
I know, but I'm going to leave it in.
No.
Yeah, I am. And welcome back to the Who Pod. This month we're going to be talking about controversial moments in Doctor Who, because I feel like there's been a lot of controversial kind of like questioning the past at the minute, which is kind of stupid when you think about it. But should we talk about that news recently as well?
There's news.
Little Britain's gone.
Oh,
Episode of Faulty Towers gone. The woman that plays Missy in Big Mouth has stepped down from playing it because she thinks that she's taking it from a black woman, so that's why she's taking it. To be honest, I don't think I care that much. Like,
it sounds bad, but honestly, like these classic shows, right? And I don't care if they're like 10 years old. You can't hold them up to modern day standards.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, everything will be cancelled.
And Little Britain was never really something that was acceptable. I think it's funny because it's like, oh, you can't say that. That's just so shocking. Somebody is always the butt of the joke, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's not just, the blackface is unacceptable, but they make fun of posh people. They make fun of classes, and I think they also kind of poke fun at like how ridiculous it is. Like the air hostess that works in first class. I think it's a good example for something that's just silly. She sees a person, she's like wiping down everything, and she's staying away from them, and she's wearing a mask. That kind of stuff. I think is the goodwill that was trying to be behind the show.
But do you think it should have got completely cancelled and removed off everything?
No, but I think that they shouldn't make any more, which I think is why the series stopped. But I think that maybe a warning just to appease the small minority,
Like an apology.
Not an apology, because I think comedy has to be one of those things that you don't treat as being serious. Like, all you'd have to do is say, like, so when you click on it on BBC iPlayer, they'd be like, this thing contains offensive... it's an adult show at the end of the day. I think that adults can determine the difference between something that is...
And I'm pretty sure...
generally racist and just changing times. It was never really seen as highbrow television. It almost does feel like dirty television, It's like lowbrow television.
Guilty pleasure.
Yeah, it was something that you know is wrong, but you watch it anyway.
It's funny.
It's funny because it's rude, not because it's witty.
Anyway, we're on about Doctor Who, aren't we?
Yeah, so I thought that I would gather up a whole bunch of the most controversial moments from Doctor Who and talk about them with you.
Right.
Should we get the obvious one out of the way first?
We have to get Series 12 out of the way first.
Yes, that's the big one, to be honest.
It's
right, so Timeless Child.
Show's entire history. Why don't you?
Right, I don't like that idea. Right, I find that frustrating because Timeless Children does not. Because if you look at episodes such as Battlefield, the Doctor was referred to as Merlin, and he actually doesn't know what place he comes from. Right, so he could have been a future version or a past version. There's no reason why there can't be versions in there to kind of fill out the spaces. And what it means is that Big Finish can do their own Doctors, but without calling them Doctors, you can just make a bigger lore out of it.
So you saying you like it?
Yeah, I like the fact that now we can do extended stuff with it, because the Doctor's got unlimited regenerations. They don't need to write an episode when he gets more regenerations. They don't need to write stories that explain how the linear time lord timeline of the Doctor.
That means the whole 57 years though previous.
Yeah.
Is nothing.
No, it is because so how I see it is that Hartnell is the first Doctor, but before then there was something like a different version of it was the same person but didn't call themselves the Doctor. And I think
Ruth Doctor called herself the Doctor, so
I don't think she's before Hartnell.
Where do you think she is then?
She's got a TARDIS that's shaped like a TARDIS. I think that she's between second and third still. The Division, I think, is going to be talking more about how they're going to fit all of that in. And I think we'll learn more about her in the Division. But yeah, Timeless Children, that was a big controversial moment. We've talked about it many times on this podcast.
Worst thing that's ever happened to Doctor Who.
Let's not talk about it again. Right, I think... Okay, next one. And I forgot about this one, but this is definitely right. Do you remember Can You Hear Me?
What, that filler episode?
Yeah.
So was that not when we just met Jack, just met the next Doctor, and then it's Can You Hear Me? But I thought we want answers.
Yeah. Just after Fugitive, it was this one, wasn't it? Or no, hang on. I think it was it Prexus then this, or the other way around?
Yeah.
Might have been the other way around. And the controversial moments in Can You Hear Me was, do you remember the scene when Graham is talking to the doctor about his cancer, and the doctor's response is,
I'm a very antisocial person, so I'm just going to walk over to the TARDIS.
Yeah.
And probably think about something I would say, but then not come and say it.
Yeah. So basically, after a story that talks about your mental health and speaking about your issues, and then actually receiving help, the doctor doesn't help him in any way. Yeah. Right. There are another one here. We've got Deep Breath. Do you remember that episode? There is that's the first Capaldi episode. There's a very weird moment when there's just this big kiss between Madame Bastra and Jenny.
Yeah.
And it got some complaints. But it is quite an awkward scene, to be honest.
Well, that's not controversial.
And
controversial.
You're talking about a couple of years ago, as well.
Lesbians and Doctor
To be honest,
Who.
I wasn't fussed by it, but you know, the minority are the ones that put the complaints in. It's awkward because it's like, let's share oxygen, and then they're right in there as their mouths kind of close up on each other. It's just very weird, to be honest, for Doctor Who.
Yeah, but it's established that they're lesbians and lovers before, so what's the whole point of them sharing? I don't get it. I do not get it. Like, we know they're lesbians, so what's the problem with them doing that?
Yeah.
If it was like a completely new, like, bloody hell, they're lesbians out of nowhere, maybe, but I don't see why we've got complaints. Anyway, what's the next controversial thing in Doctor Who?
Right, so do you remember Stolen Earth, which at the time of, I think it was yesterday, was first aired?
Right.
Yeah. Well, the episode came out 12 years ago now.
God, I feel old.
Series 5 came out 10.
I feel so old. I remember when
it freaked me out.
Oh my god!
Freaked us all out during that moment. But do you remember this the scene when they basically try and all call the doctor?
Yeah. Well, how did that get controversial?
Some people actually tried to call the number.
People actually tried. So people were watching Stolen Earth go, ooh, they've called that number. Let me call it and see if the doctor in the TARDIS picks up.
Yeah.
Just nuke the Earth, please.
Yeah, but it was from a bunch of safe numbers anyway, but I just thought that would be a funny thing that I saw while I was searching. I saw it from a Radio Times article.
That was funny, actually, how people...
It's incredibly silly, really, isn't it? I really hope it's a bunch of kids, but I think 250 kids, 2,500 actual kids doing that.
2,500 people called the number.
Yeah.
Is that why it's cut out in the Netflix version?
Maybe. I don't know. Do you remember Series 8? Mark Gatiss and, Stephen Moffat has a bit of an fixation with sort of life after death.
Will you shut up? I'm going to hit you in my shoe.
Being dead, but also having consciousness. So when you die, you feel things.
I don't think that was controversial. Well, it was controversial, but it made you think. But I wouldn't say
it was a terrifying thing. I think that's what people were complaining about.
Should be.
Yes. Have you seen Dracula?
No.
Came out. So I think there's an episode. The last episode takes that, and makes it darker. Really does make it darker.
please don't cremate me, please don't cremate me. It goes darker than that.
Yeah. So what it does, right? So, sort of brief spoilers for Dracula. I'll just kind of go around it a bit, but it's quite a shocking moment. So this woman's dead, but she's been bitten by Dracula enough times for her to kind of be alive. So he says to her, "Don't get cremated," right? And she dies. I forget how she dies. And there's this scene when she's lying in her coffin and she's dead, but then she wakes up. And then she's being burnt, and her coffin starts burning around her, and she's screaming. And then it cuts, and then she turns up at Dracula's house, and she's wearing all this prosthetic burnt makeup. Like, her hair's been burnt to pieces, her face is droopy, she's like all crooked and dysmorphed. It's horrible.
So that's what Moffat wanted to do, but obviously BBC said no for Doctor Who.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't let him do it with Doctor Who.
Of course not. It's on at 7:00.
But that is truly terrifying. That's far more terrifying than that, isn't it?
Than the blowjob in Love and Monsters.
Which is my next controversial moment, surprisingly enough.
That is just cringe and funny. I don't do anything controversial. It's a joke
because it's a kids show, isn't it?
It's not a kids show. It's not a kids show. It's a joke for the adults. The kids aren't going to get it unless they go to their parents. What's he going to do with that slab?
I never noticed it, but
I never noticed it until I rewatched it and went, Russell T Davies, you dirty bastard.
So that did get a series of complaints. You know, probably not a lot, if I'm honest, but it did get a couple of complaints.
I bet it got a few laughs from the dads though, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it was funny, but 7:00 in the evening. On a Saturday night, family television.
If it's one throwaway line, it doesn't like, oh, she sucks me off. It's like the sex life's okay. Look at the camera.
Yeah. So the next one I think is quite funny, and that is Graham Norton. Do you remember a couple of times Graham Norton has appeared in Doctor Who accidentally?
The Angels, wasn't it?
He's done it twice. The first time, I only found this out recently while I was doing a quiz. He appears as like a voiceover briefly. He's not supposed to. They turned his mic on. He's just sort of talking over Rose. So there's a bit when she's in the house, the workshop bit where the dummies are.
Yeah.
And she's walking through, and I think it's when the door closes. The door closes, and you can hear Graham Norton talking from a microphone. And then there is the Time of Angels episode, which is during the Doctor's massive speech.
Where he's holding a gun. There's one thing you never ever put
big climactic moment of the episode.
Graham Norton.
And then Graham Norton's down at the bottom. And these little animated things having like a dance in here. That's quite funny. Yeah, and that got complaints of all things, to be honest. Which was surprising.
I can see why. Could you imagine that then? You would not be able to take it seriously. You're sat down watching it. I think I remember it actually.
Yeah.
You sat down
I
watching
got a
it
feeling.
For the first time. Oh my god, the Doctor's holding a gun. What's he gonna? Graham Norton pops up, little animated character going. Graham Norton at 10 p.m. on BBC One.
The last one that I have collected.
Is it a bad one?
It is. This is to do with a time thing as well.
Well, it's not Let's Kill Hitler, is it?
Well, no, that could be one, to be honest.
How they saved Hitler. I'm pretty sure that would have got a few complaints.
Have you seen the Talons of Weng-CHIANG?
Is that a classic episode?
It is.
Is it with the 7th Doctor?
No, it's with the 4th Doctor.
I haven't seen it then.
Let me send you an image. So I've sent you a picture of the one of the characters who's also the villain.
What the hell is that?
Right, so this man is a white man who they've given makeup to make him look Asian. Yeah, so he's yellow-skinned, almost like yellow face. I believe it was written down as somewhere on an article I was reading. Yeah, so that is one aspect. They smoke opium. It is set in like Hong Kong or like China somewhere. That guy and their kind of culture is basically the villain of the episode, right? they use many racial sort of slurs throughout the episode. This is a 6-part episode in series 14.
I'll watch it.
Racial slurs, getting white men to give them makeup to make them look like they are Asian actors. There is also a dwarf, which is referred to as many times as a midget. The dwarf is always a bad guy with a knife. But I think that's probably the most controversial moment in Doctor Who.
What, WENG-CHIANG?
Yeah, that whole episode.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Timeless Children. I put money on that Timeless Children is the most controversial episode of Doctor Who.
Would you?
I honestly would.
But I think it's like sort of split people a bit, I reckon, Timeless Children.
Maybe 80-20.
But, well, no, I see a lot of people that like it, a lot of people don't like it, but I think, to me, it fills a lot of gaps that I didn't like initially in Doctor Who.
Really?
You know, like, oh, it destroys canon. Mate, there wasn't much of a canon to begin with.
There was!
You know, in Battlefield, Doctor's referred to as Merlin, but he doesn't know when it happened, so it's like a random version of the Doctor. But with Timeless Children, who's to say that this version of the Doctor could have... And he doesn't remember it. So who's to say that this version of the Doctor couldn't have been a pre-Hartnell Doctor, meaning that then he was at some point during that time Merlin?
No.
You got to say no to everything that I put forward.
Because, Dan, you can't go off... Basically, Chris Chibnall watched probably them episodes and went, hold on, says Merlin. I have to fix that. Hold on, there's more faces in Morbius. I have to fix that. Things get retconned over the years. People just forget about things over the years. They realise it was just a writer trying to make things work and realise it didn't. And then Chibnall's like, I've got to make it work. And he didn't. The Doctor's no longer a Gallifreyan.
No, I don't like that.
The Doctor now has infinite amount of regeneration. So this whole 12 limit thing was complete bollocks.
Well, I don't mind that, because that means that the Doctor doesn't... They don't have to write in
and they've
extra...
got an easy way out when it eventually goes to shit.
They don't have to write in extra bits. Like, how's he going to get the next cycle, that kind of stuff.
It worked for time with the Doctor.
Because, no, but imagine, like, every so many years, they'll have to go, all right, we're going to do another regeneration cycle. How's he going to get this one? You know, like that. So I think doing that might free up their possibilities for more Doctors, and I quite like that idea more than I like the idea of the Timeless Children. I don't like the idea. I like the idea of it, not the execution. I don't feel like we have the full picture of the Timeless Children yet.
He better actually bloody answer it and not give us more questions.
Yeah. Anyway, so I knew that bloody Timeless Children was going to be the big thing here, but
because it's so fucked. Oh.
Okay, so thank you very much for coming with me on this journey this month.
Christmas or New Year that we decided to do.
Some time around. Yeah, so thank you very much for being around this time, Will. Hopefully you enjoyed our journey into controversial moments. Basically just Timeless Children. And we will see you next month talking about something else. Nearly forgot. We're available on Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, Podcast Chaser, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts. I feel like there's one more, but I can't remember. That's iTunes. There we go. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next month with another thing.
A quiz! Can we do a quiz? I really want to do a quiz.
I would like to do a quiz. I like to do a Dan versus Will quiz on Doctor Who.
Well, we know who's going to win that one, don't we?
Me?
Yeah. Right.
That's exactly why I want to do it.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.